Hey guys, welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. Adam here. When we last left off, we were rescuing our Eve mission, which I believe we have mostly done at this point. There's still two things I want to do to ensure the further success of that, which is we still need to add another module to that space station, I think, so that I know that I have comms with Kerbin at all times, and we need to add some relays to actually communicate on the far side of the planet away from the KSC. But before we do that, we should still be in comms range on those satellites, or those probes right now, I believe. Let's go ahead and switch over to them. And while we're around the sun, we can do some science. I wanted to do this earlier, but I was so focused on saving the mission that I kind of slipped my mind for a little bit. So we can close that. We can definitely close that. I've been messing around with space planes. That's part of what we're going to be doing next. Alright, so we have a bunch of instruments on this thing. I brought extra goo containers really for counterbalance mainly, so we can go ahead and use these. There's going to be a lot of signal delay between when I tell it to do something and when it actually does something. Now there's no chance these are coming back. It's not designed to, so we will transmit that data. This, I believe, never really matters. I think it can transmit as many times. We have this little antenna. I'm just getting stuff deployed here because the signal delay is so ridiculous. And are there any other instruments on this one? I don't know. But let's get our data. Oh, that's not too bad. So let's go ahead and retract that. Those are just dishes. So I want to hold on to a couple of these because we're going to be using them over Eve. And let's do this as well. Signal delay makes things kind of fun. Wow, that's a lot of science. Cool. And batteries should not be an issue at all. We're getting a lot of solar power here. And it's got a lot of batteries, so that should all be good. Go ahead and I'm just making sure I'm doing this right. Retract that antenna. I don't want to make a mistake out here. Been through enough mistakes. Now, something that I do kind of want to do, even though I had thought about not doing this, is ditch these fairings, because I do want to get to the instruments that are underneath, the juicy instruments, so let's do this in a safe fashion. I think they're just going to drift away nice and slow, but I kind of want to make sure. So let's retract all them panels. And which ones are you? You are those two. So let's make a new group here. And make sure we don't screw this up and accidentally lose our engine or some silly nonsense like that. I can't fix those parachutes if we unpack one of them either. So I'm going to quick save just because this makes me nervous. And go. Of course, the signal delay doesn't help with that either, does it? Did that just activate engines, or did these actually separate? I don't know what that just did. It made a noise. Well, let's try it again. There we go. Okay, there's more instruments underneath here. I don't know how many of these are going to really be useful out here. The accelerometer sure won't. Thermometer probably won't. That seems to only work right around planets. Can't use that now. Any other instruments on any of these? I think it's all just antennae and stuff. What's that? That's a battery. Radiator. Yeah, I don't think there's really too much else that's going to be any good out here in space on these things. Because there's a barometer on the one that goes down Eve and stuff, but that's not going to do any good either out here in space. Let's just make sure all these engines are still shut down before we go any further. Activate. 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 And okay, so nothing got activated. That's good news. I guess out of curiosity, well, nah, I want to save those for Eve. I don't think there's any other useful information we're going to get from this particular spacecraft, so let's go ahead and go back to the Space Center and switch over to the other one. I don't like switching in space anymore between these things because it just zooms out so far. I don't I don't know. I always feel like the game's gonna break. I don't know why, but it makes me feel like it's going to. Now, I don't think there's a particularly huge number of instruments on this. There are a couple of telescopes. I don't know if those are going to get any information while we're out here or not, but we'll figure it out. Okay. What the heck? Kraken. The Kraken. That is unfortunate. I can't even imagine why that just happened. Huh. Well, I'm going to reload and hope that that doesn't happen again. It'd be nice if this would stop spinning, but yeah, it's out of control because the satellite dish blew up. Huh. Well, I'm glad I was quick saving. I wonder why that happened. Well, let's try. Did I already do my sciencey stuff here? I believe I did. This is just before I decoupled that stuff. So, I'm actually going to leave that alone right now because I'm scared to do anything right now. See if we can switch the other way. Like I said, I always feel like things are going to break, and apparently I'm somewhat justified in thinking things are going to break because things like to break. Why can I not switch to you? There. Please don't blow up this time. Fingers crossed. It blew up. Why are you blowing up? Why? That is quite a debris field, though. Wow. Blew up better this time. Huh. Well, I think we're going to leave that alone for now. Try to figure out why that's happening a little bit later. I might need to edit the craft file, because that does not count. Like, I might have to cheat on that because that is ridiculous. I have no idea why that's happening. We'll just let that other ship be for now and figure that out on my own time. But we got some science back. I don't know how much we got exactly. 318 total, so that's not really enough to deal with too much, but we can probably unlock some more space planiness, which might be good. Just kind of checking what we have available here. Ooh, I like that pod a lot. That's one of my favorites. Bunch of wingalings. Versus, what's my other option here? Engine mount stuff. Is that a VTOL engine? It is a VTOL engine. That's kind of attractive too. However, I think we're going to go this way. We have a couple more things that need to be taken care of while our probes are on their transit out to Eve. Well, into Eve, whichever way you want to think about it. But the first being, I have to launch a couple more modules out to the comm station. This is going to be a lengthy process, so I'll probably just show the launch. We're going to launch a worker drone to help assemble other sections of the station later. This is a lot like what I have used in my other previous series. It's pretty much just a bunch of RCS tanks, some solar panels and whatnot, and a couple docking ports, so that can move panels around and whatnot. And this one actually doesn't need to be manned, so I should probably remove that and put in one of these. And I actually don't want that disconnecting. Well, I'll just be careful not to stage that stage. So, is that all correct? I believe so. Cool. So let's go ahead and put an antenna on here somewhere too. The reason that this doesn't need to be manned anymore is because I have upgraded the station up there already. I've launched a couple of the modules, so it doesn't actually need to be manned any longer, which should save a lot of time and effort returning things to Kerbin. I'll put one of these on here, and that should be good now. Now it's a little bit shorter, so there we go. And then our other launch, I'm not going to launch this because it's the same thing, but is Module 3, I believe. And it's a very similar launch vehicle, because this is a pretty heavy thing again that we got going here. So it's pretty much just an arm with some docking ports. It does have a couple of short-range dishes to communicate with other satellites that we're going to be putting up. And again, this one no longer needs to be manned either. So let's rearrange this slightly. And I actually want that probe core. Get out of here. I don't like do as much probe core. You're alright for satellites, but... Alrighty. So, boom. Boom. Let's just put an adapter on there of some sort to make that less stupid looking. It's still going to be somewhat stupid looking, but less so. And then I need to strut it back up due to the space cracking. Alright, that looks pretty good. And then let's put a little doohickey on here again. I do not need two of those. Come on. I do not want two. There we go. And one of these for the way up. And that can just go there. Alright, cool beans. So this thing should be good to go. And like I said, I'm not using... This is going to be crashing back into Kerbin, so I'm not using any nuclear transfer stages or anything on these. I believe I switched this out, right? Darn it. Yeah, okay. It's good to go. So let's go ahead and update the saved file. And let's get this thing on its way. Now I've been putting these into an orbit of roughly 1,000 kilometers and then boosting up. I have to do most of the... Let's get rid of the Kerbal alarm clock. I have to do most of the piloting to get in for the closest approach manually, because MechJet does not seem to be able to do any rendezvous stuff at these kind of speeds. They're very kind of slow. Alright, 1,000. Let's go ahead and launch into our target so I don't forget to do that, because that's kind of important for our Delta V budget. Set as target. So much crap. Okay, put you up there. Launch into the plane of the target. Engage autopilot. Let's do this thing. And I believe all my staging's correct on this thing. It's been working. Hopefully it didn't get screwed up by me moving some stuff around, but I think it's good. Alrighty. And this has been taking off complete... Why did it lose my flag? Darn you, game. It forgets my flag sometimes. I don't know why. Well, at any rate... there it goes. Okay. So, these launches have been going pretty well here, so I'll probably just meet you up in space, barring any unfortunate incident on the way. Alright, so we've separated our booster stage, and we're just kind of cooking along here at a pretty good speed. This engine should have more than enough thrust to complete the rest of the maneuvering we need. That first stage has a lot of power and gets us all the way out of the atmosphere before it runs out of juice, so that's good. I just realized I still have life support on here. Don't really need that. I forgot to take that off. These were manned before, so... Oops. Alright, wrapping up this first burn here. Just another minute here. And it's not going to take too much to finish this orbit off here, so... Then we can get into the long, boring task of actually getting an intercept. And I have to launch another rocket, but I'm not even going to show that one, because it's the exact same launch vehicle, just with different payload. This thing seems to be functioning pretty darn well with no pilot. I was worried about if it would have enough torque, but I do have a SAS wheel on here, which should help out quite a bit. Oh, you're so tiny, you little Kerbin. Looks nice. Looking good, Kerbin. Looking good. Alright, so wrap it up. Come on. There she goes. Whoa, camera. Flipping out a little on me there. But as you can see, we're in a pretty inclined orbit here. Well, you can't really tell, but I'm not going to switch to the map view. But that's, you know, if we're even to the equator, that would be even to the equator. But I'm going to work on getting my rendezvous set up, and I will meet you when we're fine-tuning our approach out there. So this is pretty much how I've been doing this. I've been having MechJeb create the kind of rough maneuver here, and as you can see, it doesn't do a very good job. But I can tighten it up a little bit, and then as I get out there, I will make further adjustments. For whatever reason, MechJeb is just terrible at doing these kind of encounters. I don't know why. Like I said, the margins out here are really small for actually getting this stuff correct, and it's hard to actually even do this with maneuver nodes. I really just have to use MechJeb's instruments and do a readout and figure it out from there, because it doesn't work very well like this. We'll do some fine-tuning on the way out, but hopefully this will work out. I've done it twice already, this method, and it's worked just fine. So now that I'm recording, it probably won't, though, because that's how things like to be. It also takes a fairly long time to get all the way out there too, which is one of the reasons I would like to do these unmanned missions, but we probably will have to send out another manned mission or two at some point on this station. I'm actually thinking about putting a little bit of a provision to have people stay there if they need to come out there, like put a little, not exactly a big habitat module, but a little bit with some life support and stuff, so if people need to come out there to do repairs or whatever, they'd be able to and not just stay on their ship. But I'm not sure if I'm going to go through all that trouble or not, because really the only time I think anybody will have to go out there, I'm considering using the Kerbal attachment system to weld everything together on my stations, so it might be necessary to do that, but we'll see. And what we're going to do here is actually get rid of this orbit info, because it's fairly irrelevant now. I'm going to pull up my little... in my target window. There she is. Pull this thing up, and what I'll generally do here is I'm going to warp out till we get a little bit closer, and then start fine-tuning our closest distance to target, because it really just takes a small amount of fuel to get it pretty close. I can usually get it within 4 kilometers, and then you just kind of burn towards it, because the speeds out there aren't great. Just we're going to match our velocity and then burn towards it. So wrapping this up here, it's pretty much like any other rendezvous. It's just it's a little bit more finicky because of the low influence of Kerbin. Alright, so that's not a great encounter, but like I said, we shall fine-tune it. And what I'll usually do is I'm just going to put a maneuver here as a warping point. I have no intention of actually really setting up a maneuver, but I can use the warp helper to warp to that maneuver node. Saves me the trouble. So that maneuver node's 14 hours out, so it takes a bit of time getting out here. And our relays are sort of functioning, except that's out of... Okay, it's in range again. I was a little concerned. We still have not set up the satellites down there. I didn't think of that. This might actually have been better to have this be manned still, because we're going to lose comms at some point very soon here, aren't we? We just didn't. Darn it! That's why I had it manned still. Well... crap. How much fuel is left in this thing? I'm gonna have to probably just wait for another close encounter. That could take forever. Darn it. Well, I guess we're gonna have to get to our next phase of this mission, which means we have to go back to the Space Center real quick before we can do these unmanned things. Alright, so this is our hopeful communication satellite launcher here that we have. I believe it should have more than enough delta V and thrust to hopefully get this thing done. Sometimes satellites are the simplest solution, so Now this is going to hopefully launch all 3 satellites at once, so it is a little ambitious in that way just because it weighs a lot. I had to use like an uprated version of my lifter. These are really big liquid fuel boosters there, so I did want to make sure that we had some extra thrust just to get going here, because thrust weight ratio with those boosters is only 1.25, so we got 2.48 with the solid boosters here. All the staging looks good. Let's see what happens. So far, things are looking alright. Not the fastest launch ever, but not the slowest either. We got not a lot of time left on those solid rocket boosters. Might need bigger solid rocket boosters, because we're going to be down to that 1 point whatever thrust to weight ratio before too long here. But we'll see how she goes. And let's get our orbit info here. Definitely slowing down quite a bit, but it shouldn't stop. Our apoapsis is still going up. Our time to apoapsis is frozen and should start starting to go up. So we'll see how this goes. Not optimistic with all the failures I've been having lately. I probably should put in some 2-meter parts and use a really big engine, but I was lazy and I didn't. Pretty much. It should have the delta V to get this done, but we are wasting a lot here, not accelerating very quickly and stuff, so a little bit worried. We only got 1 minute and 20 seconds or so left on all this extra boosterage, but we're starting to pick up a decent amount of speed, so hopefully we'll be out of the worst of the atmosphere by the time that happens. Going a little sideways. Pass through the clouds. There you go. Definitely going just a smidgen to the side. That's worrying. Not a good sign in a launcher when it does that. I'm not feeling like we're going to make orbit. I'm getting a little pessimistic about this thing, because we're going to be dropping down to less than a 1 thrust to weight ratio in a little bit here. And I don't think we're even going to be out of the worst of the atmosphere like we need it to be. I'm not a big fan of this how this is working out. Let's just say that. Like, it's I think I needed the 2-meter parts as the core and then some boosters on the outside. And we only have like 20 seconds left. Probably gonna, yeah, we're gonna get past 25 kilometers here. And it's gonna be time to bust out our antenna in a moment. Let's go ahead and activate that. That worked well. At least there was that. That definitely worked pretty good. And our speed is still going up. Time to apoapsis, however, is not. It's dropping pretty rapidly. That's worrying. We're going to get up to a 1 thrust to weight ratio pretty soon. That's actually a pretty terrible thrust to weight ratio to be hoping for. Well, optimistically, let's extend some panels since we're up above 32. At least if we go out, we'll go out with our boots on, so to speak. Go, rocket, go! We're up above 1 thrust to weight ratio. It's not declining so rapidly, but it's still pretty rapidly declining. Damn you, rocket! Why am I having so much trouble with this game? It's not like I haven't been playing it for a couple years now. I should have just launched these satellites one at a time and saved myself the trouble. I had that thought. I was like, I have a proven launcher that can launch one of these at a time. I should just do that. But I was like, no, why bother? We'll be fancy, save some time, just do it this way. And look what it gets me. We're increasing our apoapsis, time to apoapsis again though, so we might pull this out. We're going to build up an awful lot of speed vertically, which is kind of good. We'll be up almost to orbital speeds probably by the time this is burned itself out. So maybe this will work out. It was not a pretty ascent profile, I'll tell you that right now. That was fairly ugly, to be honest, but now let's make sure, just double check our staging, because there's been enough screw-ups going on here. Let's have this stop at stage 1, just in case it decides to go crazy. I don't want everything separating in some silly fashion. So we're at about a minute left on this stage, and I think everything is going to work out just fine. What do you know? What do you know? Now the good thing is with the apoapsis set so high here, our target apoapsis, we can pretty much just burn at this angle, and it's going to build up a lot of speed, and we're going to be probably completely out of the atmosphere with our periapsis by the time we separate this stage. I'm feeling, well, probably not actually, but we're going to be close at least. We'll definitely be out of the atmosphere when we separate this stage. And this little teensy little stage up here, so hopefully that will work out. Got 7 minutes to apoapsis now. We're getting somewhere. Look at that thing going crazy, because we're coming in at such a shallow angle. Yeah, this is going to be outside of the atmosphere pretty much, almost, not quite, but separation looked beautiful. This thing's kind of ugly, but it's working. Why are we going radically out of control? I guess we're not. It sort of knows what it's doing, I think. It's kind of stubby and weird looking. Whoa, it's like, you're in orbit, you're not in orbit. I don't know what's happening. Whoa. It's fun. So I'm going to try out the maneuver nodes to set up like a phasing orbit here. A resonant orbit or whatever the hell you want to call it. Try to get that set up so we can drop the satellites off in a more professional manner 1/3 of the way around the planet. So if I get like a 2/3 orbit going, 2 to 3 orbit, that should work out, I think. So I haven't really messed around with that. I did notice that MechJeb has that option now, so I do want to try that out. And this stage has a decent amount of fuel on board, so with a little luck it'll work out just fine. Alright, so we're almost not going to crash back into the planet. This is going to be a pretty small burn when we get up to our apoapsis to sort things out here. We are still in a decaying orbit technically right now, but only 400 meters per second, and we'll be good to go. And this is kind of funny looking. I do like having these adapter fuel tanks, though. It makes life so much better. They make things shorter, lighter. Carry more fuel, too. It's a win all around. I don't know why those aren't in the stock game. They look better than the stock adapters do, too. Although the stock adapters do have their uses for space stations and so forth. Man, Kerbin looks a lot better. Alright, burn coming up. And you gonna execute it here? Maybe? There you go. Timing seems a little bit off, MechJeb. I don't mean to tell you what to do, but you didn't split the gap there. I don't know why it's doing that. It's kind of doing that lately. I don't know why. It's kind of funny when you have various MechJebs going. It makes it look all Christmassy in there, I think. Oh my goodness. So let's pull up our, while this is doing its burn, pull up our maneuver editor, planner and try to look at how this is actually going to work. Obviously I can't actually set up a maneuver now, but I want to find the thing that set it. Intercept, match velocities, resonant orbit. Okay. 2/3, yeah, we set up any sort of thingy we want. 2/3 is probably what I want, I would think. So we'll see what that maneuver ends up looking like, and we'll probably deploy our first satellite and then try to get into that orbit and balance is going to be off, and I did not put an SAS on here. That could be a problem. The weight balance is going to be off when we detach the first satellite. MechJeb may have some difficulty correcting because I did not put an SAS on here, and these probes have terrible torque. So I just want to see what this will actually look like before we do anything here. So let's just create the orbit. So what we would do, I guess, is we'd go into this orbit, we'd drop off our first satellite, go into this orbit, come around and drop off a satellite each time around. How much does this take to do this? 220? That seems very reasonable. So what we're going to do then is remove the node because we're not doing anything yet. Let's go ahead and pick a satellite that looks... Well, let's wait until we get around to the sun side so I can actually see what the heck I'm doing a little better. Okay. And which one has an antenna that's easily deployable before we launch it? Any of you? You do. Okay. It's kind of like getting parked cars out. We have to kind of think about it. So I think yeah, these have an omni range anyway when they're like this. I'm gonna actually quick save just in case. But let's go ahead and activate that antenna. And see what happens here. Oh, look how pretty that is. I love deploying satellites. I really do. So let's get panelage going. And this should be targeting... Where is my thingy? It should be targeting comm relay station. Activate. Whoa, those are glitching right through. Let's go ahead, just for it to make it look better, extend those, even though I'm not targeting anything yet, just because that's ridiculous looking. Alrighty, look at all the communications going on here. It's glorious. Glorious, I say. Alright, cool beans, man. This thing is good to go. So, what we need to do now is set up a resonant orbit, I suppose. We can fine-tune the orbits on these things in a minute, like after everything's deployed, to make sure that it's actually going to work correctly. So 15 seconds from now, let's do 30 seconds just to make sure that there's time to turn. Create and execute. Now, is it going to be able to maintain a heading? These aren't super heavy probes, so, or satellites, so hopefully it will. Look at it, just look at it go. I love how peaceful that is, and this thing's just going to stay here forever, but that's fine. It's going in the same direction as my satellites. It's not really going to pose much of a Oh, she can't do it. She can't do it. She can't do it. Damn it, why didn't I think of that? It's always something with me. So what I'm going to try to do is just manually keep it under control here a little bit. I don't have the maneuver now, though. Well, we'll fine-tune things a little better when we can. I can control this better than MechJeb, I think. So I'll just do it myself, MechJeb. Don't know why you have such a problem sometimes, but you do. But you do. Yeah, I'm gonna unfortunately have to fine-tune these manually just because there's really no way I'm going to get this very accurately done. Why didn't I think of putting an SAS on here to counteract the weight being off? Stupid me. This has been an episode of failure. We'll just do this as a nice and gentle little burn. I keep it around half thrust. It seems I can kind of keep it under control. That's why MechJeb can't, because it just goes balls to the wall, man. Like, easy does it. Easy, good enough. I don't know, resonant-y orbit, maybe. Probably not, really, but it will be close enough. Let's get rid of the maneuver planner, since that is going to be fairly useless. It's insane looking here with all the relaying going on. That's going to be complicated to see what we're doing. But at this point, I think we want to use our warp helper. And we want to warp to our apoapsis with a lead time of 30 seconds. That sounds good. Engage. Goodbye, satellite. Like I said, it's going to be very difficult to actually see how correct we are here. Now, where did that other satellite end up? I cannot even see it. Where the heck is it? This is horrible. This is so cluttered. I know. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. That looks kind of right, maybe. Yeah, it's probably close enough. We can work with this. So, let's go ahead and separate another probe here. Now, do I have another one with an antenna that's handy to get out? That antenna looks like it's going through that one. I think we'll be alright just to deploy it. Just got to get over to it quick before it gets out. 500 meters is all. Yep, it's fine. So, boom, boom. Let's do this first so it doesn't look so silly. Calm relay station, good to go. Blammo! Yes. Feeling good. So now we need to actually go ahead and use the maneuver node editor, or not editor, the maneuver node planner, and fix our orbit here. And we will do that 15 seconds from now. Create and execute. And like I said, I'll fine tune. What is going on here? Is it actually having trouble turning? Why is it having trouble turning? Create and execute. What are you doing, MechJeb? This is a problem. MechJeb has been having horrendous issues controlling things for some reason. It must have to do with decoupling or something. But if I go back to that ship, it'll probably be fine now. Probably. Let's see here. Come on. Okay, now warp helper, get out of my face. Do this. Do it. Really? Really? Oh my god. It's just useless right now, MechJeb. Useless. Is this engine? The engine's not active either. Remove the node. Activate the end. I said activate. Why do you not look that activated, engine? I don't have a fuel readout here. Create and execute. Create and execute. Come on, MechJeb. Why is this thing malfunctioning so badly? That's going to make getting my maneuvers done a lot more complicated if it's not going to steer the thing for me. I can't even turn on the, whatchamacallit. Let's actually abort the execution. I will manually do this because I can't turn on the SAS when it's malfunctioning like that. And it's very difficult. It's very wobbly right now, so SAS does work okay on these little probes, because they have, you know, this is what this thing's really designed to control. And I'm just going to worry about completing this. Like I said, we'll fine-tune the orbits afterwards. This has been quite a screw-up episode. This one's not even my fault. MechJeb is just being stupid. I don't know why MechJeb decides to be stupid sometimes, but it sure does. Alright, this is two hands on the control time now, because I gotta cut thrust at the right time and all that. Actually, we can probably throttle down just a hair. What I'll probably have to do is quit out of my save and come back in and try to use MechJeb to fix these. Okay, good enough. I'll probably use MechJeb to try to fix these orbits a little bit, because it can get pretty precise. Okay, another thing done. Thank goodness. Now I'm going back. Well, maybe we can switch from here. Can I select the one I want to select? Switch to... Is this right? God only knows, because it zooms out 500 million miles. Go, little mouse wheel. Okay, this is what we wanted. Cool beans. So let's get our little warp helper out again. Get back to apoapsis and go. Alrighty, so when we get out of time warp, we'll deploy our antenna and whatnot. Activate. Decouple. Why are we... I don't want the junk. What are you doing, MechJeb? I mean, not MechJeb. That wasn't even MechJeb. I'm just so mad at MechJeb. I'm blaming everything on MechJeb. I will still blame MechJeb for that. Now these are really just here as extra expandability later if I need it. Those 2 extra dishes. Like, I really have no reason to have them particularly, but I want to have the flexibility to have them. So I don't have to launch more satellites if that ever comes to be. Okay, now close that, close that. We do want our orbit info, and I would also like to try the maneuver planner again. See if it's going to let me do it. Nah, it's definitely not going to do it. So away we go. Get our SAS going. So wing around and burn. Engine's not active. Good enough. Whoa! Holy crap, that was close. It didn't even think to look where the main craft was. Oops! Whoa! There's another one of those things. Alright, space debris is a little bit dangerous right now. Not gonna lie. The space debris is coming up slightly dangerous. Stay on target here, little guy. I don't like how the SAS tries to fight you still. I mean, it's a lot better than it was in that you can actually move, but it does kind of push back when I'm trying to get an accurate movement, which is annoying. Alright, burn is almost done. And it's alright if these satellites are a little bit out of sync with each other, because like I said, they do have maneuvering ability and I can fix it, but their main objective really is just to have some redundancy and keep that station in contact with Kerbin as much as possible. So it's kind of important that they're in the right orbit, but for this Eve transfer they'll probably be good enough and I can fix them a little bit more come you know, I'll do that off screen because that's going to be time consuming. Fiddling with satellite orbits is not the most fun. Alright, you are good to go, my friend. Whew. Now I'm going to go ahead and or quick save just because things like to crash a lot on me when I switch vehicles. And is that close enough to switch to? No, it's not. So we have to go... Well, we don't really have to go back to the Space Center, I suppose. I can do it from here. Wonder if MechJeb will work on this one so I can deorbit it. I mean, I can deorbit it anyway. Do I still have control over this thing? Yes, I do. So really, the only info I have no MechJeb on this anyway, so whatever. Who needs MechJeb? Come on, easy does it. There we go. Let's get the heck out of here. Crash this thing. See what we're doing here. I want this to be on a fairly death-defying and steep approach just because it's meant to burn up. So it really doesn't matter how steep it is. How much fuel does it have? It has a lot of fuel. So maybe we'll just stop and go straight down. It might even have enough fuel to do that, actually. Well, that was a lot of trials and tribulations and so forth getting this done, wasn't it? Kind of want to see how much we can burn up if we just go like into the atmosphere at a ludicrous angle. Let's call that good. Is that going to be on the day side? Possibly not. Let's make a little course correction along the way. Well, whatever. It will be more dramatic this way. So I'll meet you when we're burning up. Actually, it won't take it long, so never mind. Let's just do it. Ooh. How high up are we? Yeah, we're going to be right on the Terminator, more or less. So it'll be light enough. Let's turn this off so it can do whatever it needs to do. And this should be fun. Almost 3 kilometers worth of speed. No heat shields, no nothing. I think this thing's going to burn up. Oh my god. Yeah, there's not much left. Oh, just the last little bit. The probe. Oh, some of it did survive. That was pretty fun, though. It's not going to survive this part. Oh, we almost went back to the Space Center. Just on the other side of these mountains. That is a craggy peak. I never really noticed that. There's some crazy mountains. Well, anyway, I believe we have all this stuff dealt with, so we need to get back out there. How much time? Did I set a timer for that? No, I didn't because it was all screwed up. So we need to get back out there and get those drones docked up with the communications relay satellite. So I will be back when we go do that. Alright, so I'm going to switch over to post commentary now because all this stuff took kind of a long time and nobody cutting it up a lot, so I didn't even bother recording at the time any commentary. But what I'm doing here is I'm working on closing the gap. You can see the target information down in the kind of middle left of the screen there. Just kind of burning towards the target right now. We did our little intercept maneuver with our transfer, so now I'm just working on trying to actually get the closest approach that I can. I also have MechJeb maneuver planner up there with matched velocities with the closest approach there. So once we get a good close approach, I'm going to set up a maneuver and try to get that to match the velocity, so we'll hold our distance there. So now I'm just burning every which way, trying to figure out how to close this more. So I burned up, I guess, sort of, whichever way you want to think about it, for a little bit here. So looks like 12 was about as good as I could do, 12 kilometers. So stop, flip this thing around again. So it's just a lot of this, trying to get my best results, and I'm making things worse right here. So just continuing to try to get my closest possible approach. So I'm going to keep fiddling with this here and cut forward. Alright, so I ended up kind of screwing up and getting it only about 25 kilometers or so there, but I'm going to call it good and not really mess with it too much more for now. So now I created the maneuver to match velocities at our target. So this is going to put us into roughly the same orbit as the target actually is in, which means it'll be easier to fine-tune everything from here. So just waiting for MechJeb to do stuff, checking my alarms. Alright, so we're coming up on our approach here. And so we're going to be within 25 kilometers, which isn't great, but like I said, for whatever reason, I always have a little trouble. I ended up getting a lot better at this later. It was just a matter of having practice getting these rendezvous down, I guess. So we have matched our velocities. Now, so we're kind of, it ended up getting closer than I thought I was going to, so I had to cancel real quick there. But now we're pretty much on course here. So what I need to do now is actually face towards the target. We're kind of far out to be doing this kind of thing, but I had fuel to spare. I have like 827 meters of delta V remaining, so I figured I could afford to mess around. Time was more important than fuel efficiency at this point. So I was just trying to find my target marker here, and there's my target. Go ahead and face that way and just pretty much burn. Try to get our relative velocity not crazy high, so it's hard to stop once we get over there, but pick up enough that it doesn't take forever to close this gap too, because we're going to have to keep changing our burn direction as we get closer, because we're not in the exact same plane and we're not going the exact same speed, so our orbits aren't going to quite match up. It's going to take a lot of fine-tuning on the way there. Basically, I just want to keep that yellowish green prograde marker inside of that pink marker for the target is all the way in, and then we'll close the gap. So at this point, we got our closest target distance down to 315. It's varying a lot because of the inaccuracy in the way the computer calculates this stuff. But I created another match velocity at closest approach to the target, so it'll stop us somewhere around 300 meters off of the target. And that pause there is the physics range coming in. So just kind of wait here, really kind of whirling by, but slow it down. Come on, game. That was irritating. I don't really know how it decides where it does that, but it was a little inaccurate. And for some reason we kept going, so that's great. But we're within close enough range that now we can definitely just burn directly towards and get lined up for docking now. Alright, so now I'm just kind of finishing up closing the gap using RCS thrusters. I use Smart ASS to just keep me pointed towards the target, and I was fine-tuning, keeping that yellowish green inside the pink there. One thing I did that was kind of stupid is I kind of built this whole assembly backwards, which means the docking port that is going to be docking is actually really what I want to be the outside docking port eventually. So I'm going to have to send up that drone to reorganize this. So I'm not going to worry about alignment or anything for this docking, because it's all going to have to be redone anyway. The important thing is just that these get docked, and I'll worry about fixing it and making it look pretty later. So now I'm trying to actually see where the docking port is that I'm going to choose. You can see I already have one of these up here. Actually, it looks like I have two of these up here already. So this was the last one I did, I guess. So we're close enough to set our docking port, and now we have to pretty much turn off the Smart ASS and start doing our translation and stuff, which takes a little bit of doing, but we eventually get there. Alright, so we are wrapping up kind of a boarded docking approach here. What ended up happening was I ran out of fuel, RCS fuel, because the docking took a lot longer than I intended, so I couldn't go for the port that I wanted to, but I ended up having kind of an opportunity here with this. So I used the main engine and burned towards the bottom docking port here. Like I said, I'm going to have to rearrange these anyway, so I really didn't care that much where they went. I just kind of cared that it got up here. So just turning off SAS, letting everything just kind of let the magnets kind of pull themselves in. Now, part of the reason I had trouble is what you're seeing here is this thing's kind of long and flimsy, which means that it was kind of wobbly. and I didn't have any RCS ports up towards the front, which meant the whole thing wanted to kind of go a little bit out of control on me at times, so it was a little bit challenging of a docking. We got it done. That's what's important. So pretty much the station is going to be fully functional. It's ugly right now. I have to come up and do some house cleaning, but get this thing out of here. Send this back to Kerbin pretty much right now. So fire retrograde. I think I'm firing retrograde to the target still. I didn't realize I may still have the target selected. I'm not sure if I did, or if I fixed that or not. But anyway, that's going to pretty much do it for today. We got our station fully functional. Ugly as it is, it's fully functional. Got our relay satellites up, so everything for the EVE mission is now functional. We will not have any communications blackouts, aside from when EVE is actually blocking comms. You know, we'll still have that problem, but other than that, we're good to go, and thanks for watching.